This is the Lasgidi Farmer podcast.
Hello everyone, I welcome you to the 7th episode of the Lasgidi Farmer podcast, where we'll be discussing the art of goat and sheep production. The livestock sector is growing like we've never seen, presenting both global and domestic opportunities. For instance, the livestock industry in Nigeria is worth 30 trillion naira today and is poised to reach 50 trillion naira by 2040. And also on a global scale, the livestock and meat market size is estimated at $487.46 billion today and is expected to reach $637.7 billion by 2029. So it will grow within this period cumulatively by 5.52%. So what we are seeing is a rise in demand for animal protein, which is going to rise from 218 million metric tons that we saw between 1997 to 1999 to 637 million metric tons by 2023. So this has been fueled by rising population both in the developed and developing world. In the developed world by globalization and migration, and in the developing world by increased population to rising fertility. And we have a lot of people seeing upward mobility into the middle class and having increased purchasing power and increasingly demanding nutritious food like protein. So looking at Nigeria, a population of over 200 million people, formed mostly by young people, expected to reach 400 million by 2050, doubling its current population size, and young population demographic growing bigger, and 15% of the same population is undernourished, and also about 2.5 billion Nigerian children battling severe acute malnutrition, and we have 41% of the nation's children under the age of 5 affected by protein energy malnutrition. And also, why Nigeria has a livestock count of over 200 million is one of the highest in Africa. We still have 1.2 million, 140,000 metric ton and over 700,000 metric ton poultry, egg, milk demand, supply deficit here. So even despite being the second largest subsector, talking about the livestock subsector of the agricultural sector, it just forms 81% of the sector, far behind the poultry subsector at 87.6%. And in spite our livestock egg, one of the highest in Africa, our livestock contribution to agricultural GDP is lower than many African countries with lower herd size. So there's a whole lot of gap that, promises significant engagement for people that want to participate in the sector. Thus, as evident, the massive participation opportunity in the sector and industry. Operating in the sector is not that rosy, because we've had, farms gone bust and participants in the sector, leave the sector to challenges in the environment, to macroeconomic happenings that destabilize, production in the sector and also pushed up production costs. And this has also been to the skilled with management and, adapting to this situation here. So it's quite important to have a robust understanding of operating in the sector, robust understanding of production of livestock, and effective management, adapting strategy is one of the reasons why we'll be having this discussion in this episode, to expose us to and to expand our view of modern production, the core production basics, how to sell, how to market. And we'll be having a very experienced resource person in the house that you get to know in the course of the event, and help you to start your production effectively. Thank you so much.
So I'm at Abdullah Akonde's farm. I drove all the way from Lagos. And I like the way he's so passionate about the ruminant production and also the livestock production also. And everything that I've been seeing on WhatsApp, his videos are actually look, you can see how clean the whole pen is, the animals and all. So we go inside.
Nice having you, on the live event here. And, we've been planning this for some time now, and we thank God that it's a reality today. So I can see that a lot of people are already joining us, Damilola Kinfenwa, Pondit Idris, Muta Wakil is saying, nice to be here. Nice to have you here also. And we have Olakbade, Olusegun, Wale. We have quite some people joining in, and we trust that a lot of people will be joining us shortly. We have Olanipekun, Caleb Ibukun also watching. Yeah, it's actually interesting to see people joining quickly. It shows that what we're about to discuss is relevant to thoughts of the people, people wanting to raise their own livestock, contribute to the nutrition security of the nation, yeah, and also, wanting to partake in this sector, to earn meaningful income and add value to products that helps to generate agricultural earnings. Like you would know from the description of the event itself, is going to be a masterclass on goat and sheep production, and we have a resource person in the house that is going to help us with that. His name is Okoyemi Abdullah Akonde. He has significant experience in the area of livestock production. Actually, he has his BSc in animal science from FUNAB, and also his MSc in similar discipline from the University of Ibadan. He's a registered animal scientist. He has up in cultivating the spirit to to raise livestock and helping to transform production of different farms, both domestically and internationally. I would leave him to properly describe himself in time. Just a brief introduction about him. So I'm going to introduce myself as well. My name is Toib Aziz. I'm known as the Lasgidi Farmer. I operate here in Lagos. Actually, I have my first degree in agricultural extension and my second degree in communication for innovation and development. And as you can guess here, I'm into communication for agriculture. So it's one of the reasons why I'm, facilitating this, where we can have discourses that serve to improve our knowledge in the agriculture sector and also enhance our production. Yeah. So the reason why we have chosen to talk about goat and sheep production today is because of the significance of the sector to the economy of the nation. Yeah. Agriculture, based on recent statistics from the previous year, contributes 25% to national GDP. Yeah. So when you look at the subsectors that contribute most to agricultural earnings, the first on the list is crop production. Then we have livestock production. Then we have fishery. When we look at the contribution of the livestock sector to the agriculture sector itself, though it seems that it's much, but it's far from what it could be. The present value of the industry of the sector, the livestock industry, is about 30 trillion naira and is poised to reach 50 trillion naira in 2040. Yeah. So if conditions don't go right, we might not attain the value that we are looking at. And when we look at the supply demand gap, we see that the livestock sector is still lagging behind. We have about 1.2 million metric ton, 140,000 ton and 720,000 tons, supply gap for poultry meat, for egg and for milk. So these are obviously gaps that people can participate in, if we actually transform the sector to be very productive. And it is one of the reasons why we have to discuss this today. Why we have this, these opportunities. There are also challenges. We've had challenges with input inflation. We've had challenges with, agro-pastoralists and farmers clashes that cost us 14 trillion naira yearly. In revenue. One other thing that we have is the issue of management, that has to do with having the core knowledge. So it's one of the reasons why we have Abdullah Akonde here today, to help us maneuver these things, despite the challenges in the macroeconomic environment, the challenges directly with operating, managing the livestock farms. How can we make meaningful production and earnings from the sector? So I'll yield the floor now to Okoyemi Abdullah, to introduce himself. Then I'm going to ask question, just to give us a brief understanding and of the status quo of the sector. So it makes it more of dialogue and conversation. So within the course of the event as well, we would open the floor for people to ask questions so that they get clarification on some of the things that seems confusing or make addition or contribution that enrich the overall discussion. So I yield the mic to Abdullah Akonde now to introduce himself properly. Thank you for coming.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Akode Abdullah Akoyemi. I'm the CEO of Babak Farm. I'm your resource person for today, and I'll be taking you Masterclass on the art of profitable sheep and goat production. Let us get our pen and our jotter. I'm quite sure you are going to learn a lot.
That's great. So I will just move to the first question of the day. I want to be sure that I'm audible, Mr. Abdullah. Am I?
Yes, I can
audible? Can you
hear you loud and clear.
Okay,
I
very
can hear
good.
you loud and clear.
Very good.
Yes.
So the first thing that I would like your opinion of the day is actually on, I'm sure you're aware that the government recently created a new ministry of livestock and development. It's been what people have been contesting here and there, whether it's right to do so or not right to do so. So I seek your opinion whether it's a good or a bad thing and can help with transforming the livestock industry to attain its inherent capability. When you look at the sector, it's an important one, considering meeting domestic protein demands and generating earnings that contributes to agricultural earnings. Yeah. I was just looking at what do you think about this position of government, to create a new ministry? Is it something that promises to transform the sector and the industry, to be able to meet the supply gap and help us to generate the necessary earnings? Thank you.
Okay, Toib, thank you for your question. And I can say categorically that it is a good one from the federal government, definitely a good one, the right strategy. But the issue is it sustainable? And are the main beneficiaries, which are the livestock farmers, are they going to benefit from it? That's what we should be talking about. It is a good one. This is the right time to create a ministry like that, because we are in a situation whereby we need help from all angles. You understand what I'm saying? But the issue is that we all know, I'm sorry to say this, we have a bad government, and the fact that we have a bad government doesn't guarantee us that it's going to be sustainable. I pray it will be sustainable. I'm not trying to cause or whatever, but I just pray it gets to the end users, which are the beneficiaries, which are the ruminant farmers. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm saying it is a good one.
Thank you so much for that. I share similar opinion as you. That is a good one. Yeah, because when we look at the sector itself, what we see is that we need a focus, a strategy that is going to direct things. And I share your opinion as well that, it's not just about, making budget, dispersing funds. We have to ensure that what we budget goes to the right beneficiaries, because what we have with the instrument given in the previous administration, I'm sure you're aware of the Anchor Borrowers Program. They gave a fund instrument to the tune of 1 trillion naira, 1.062 trillion naira. You understand? And a lot of farmers were complaining then that, they didn't receive their share of the instrument, and many people lamented that it went to career or political farmers here. So if there are situations like this, it might not necessarily yield what we budgeted for in the first place. So I'll just ask the second question, then we'll go straight into the event of the day, what people are here for, the masterclass. What we are just doing now is just to, get us ready, understand issues in the sector and, prepare our mind. Yeah. So when you look at what we've just discussed now, yeah, it's not that we don't produce much here. Like when you look at our poultry production is the largest in Africa, and you look at our cattle production as well, in terms of beef, is the 6th largest in Africa. But the issue we have is that of productivity, because in the nation, about 6.6 million households with free range system here produce 78 million birds, and just about 17,000 farms that run on intensive farming. They supply 45 million birds. So hence from the extensive system give 40x per annum compared to 160x of the intensive system. This is similar trend for cattle production. It appears there is need for more focus to transform the livestock sector and its system and make it more productive. That is, if we assist more of our farmers, on an extensive system to adopt improved production practices and implement effective management, scaling many into large-scale production, our productivity with livestock would significantly improve. What do you think about this, and how do you think we can go about it? Thank you.
Okay. I think the smallholder farmers have been producing a lot, and they've been trying their best. Their best. So, in a situation whereby we can support them, maybe the government through special intervention, they can support them in order for them to be more productive. That will be fine. And I think they need support. They need the backing from the government. But the fact is that the government still has a lot of roles to play in this thing, because we have a lot of commercial farms out there, but what they are producing is small compared to what the household farmers are producing. So if we can support the smallholder farmers, that will be fine.
That's really great. Supporting the smallholder farmers is important. So now we go to the main event of the day. I hope you have prepared your slides, Mr. Abdullah, because I tell the audience we prepared a great slide to actually share with you, but we don't actually understand what is happening with Facebook. We can't share the app, we can't share the slide rather, but we would like you to indicate later. Maybe put your email in the comment section, or if you would like to receive the slide, you can just indicate. So from there, we note down people that have indicated, and we'll send the slide, trusting that it will be helpful for us. And also be rest assured that this particular event is being recorded and is going to be live on the Lasgidi Farmer podcast. In case you don't know, this particular event is brought to you by the Lasgidi Farmer podcast. So it's available on Amazon and available on Spotify as well. So you can always listen to it later. So I yield the floor now for Mr. Abdullah to go properly into his presentation. I hope the audience, stay tuned and listening properly, because there's a whole lot of insights to learn from this goat and sheep production like you've never done before. Thank you.
Okay, as I've said earlier, my name is Akode Abdullah Okoyemi. I'm the CEO of Abak Farm, and today I'll be taking us a masterclass on the heart of profitable sheep and goat production. So now, I'll be talking practically now, because I'm a practical farmer. So we have a lot to gain here. What are the methods of rearing sheep and goats? We have the backyard system. Backyard system in the sense that, in the olden days, even till now, we have our forefathers and our parents now. Some of them still rear goat and sheep at the backyard. But the issue is the cost of raising these goats, if they will be kept intensively, is very high. That's the more reason why they keep all these animals is just for their personal consumption, and they also sell out if it remains, you understand. So now, going commercially, we have the second one, which is the commercial system. We know agribusiness has a lot of potentials, and a lot of people are going into agribusiness. But what is the main reason for going into a business is for profit purpose. You understand what I'm saying? So now, if you want to grow commercially on sheep and goat production, practically you should have done your pasture establishment 3 months before the arrival of your animals. You understand what I'm saying? So now, cultivation of pasture. We know sheep and goats, we have brachiaria, grass, we have tidostanthes and all the rest. And for cattle, we have like napier cuttings for them. So the bone of the contention is that if you want to go commercially and you want to break even in this business, it is better you cultivate your pasture 3 months before the arrival of your animals. What's the essence of cultivating these 3 months before the arrival of the animals? The reason is that so that the grasses or the napier will have, the roots will have been firm in the ground, so that when these animals are grazing on them, they won't tamper with the roots, because once they are established, they are established. You understand what I'm saying? So let me leave that.
These days we cultivated the pasture like last year during rainy season last year. So and we do harvest it. It will regerminate again. Then we have a machine we use in chopping.
What's the particular name of the grass? Is it Tridus procumbens or?
We have bacteria and we have lab. So these are the two we have here. Then we are trying to cultivate more there. You can see we've cleared the land already. We are just
okay. So when the grass is ready, do you chop them up or you just move the animal in to consume them?
Is that what we do here is zero grazing. We don't allow the animals to go out at all. You understand? So we just hire one person. They will cut. When they cut, we air dry. We turn to hay. When we turn to hay, we use our chopper to chop the grasses. Then we add some cassava peels that has been chopped, concentrates and other additives.
I can see why it's palatable.
So I'll be taking it one after the other before we get into the main discussion. We have digestive systems of animals, we have ruminants, we have non-ruminants, we have pseudo-ruminants, and we have avian. So for ruminants, definitely we know we have large and small ruminants. For the purpose of this presentation, we'll be talking on sheep and goats, which falls under small ruminants. So let's neglect non-ruminant, pseudo-ruminant, and avian. Let's go to the breeds of sheep we have in Nigeria. Definitely we are going to share this slide with you. Then you can go back and see all what I've been saying. We would have loved to share it, but we are having technical issue here. So now we have Balami sheep, we have Uda sheep, we have Yankasa sheep, and we have West African dwarf sheep. These are the 4 breeds of sheep that we have in Nigeria. What are the characteristics of the breeds of this sheep? We have, when we talk about Balami, I know we have a lot of farmers here and they will be thinking along with me. When we talk about the coat color, they are predominantly white in color. The presence of dewlap, which the Yoruba call, definitely they are characterized by having dewlap on their neck. Then the mouth structure is like a parrot mouth. Then the size of the animal is the biggest breed of sheep in Nigeria, definitely. The tail, it has a very long tail. And when we talk about reproductive traits, these animals have the tendency of giving birth to twins and triplets. You understand what I'm saying? So the characteristics of Uda sheep, if you notice, when we visit the market or some farms, we see some animals that are either white and black or white and brown. These animals, maybe the white and the black will be even. One side will be white, one side will be black. That's a typical example of Uda sheep. That's the color. They are the second breed of sheep in Nigeria, and they are tall, most times taller than the Balami. Their horns are dominant and they have a flappy ear. You understand what I'm saying? The Yankasa sheep are what we call Kuru Hausa. That's what we call them. They are big as well, but not as big as Uda sheep. Their coat color is predominantly white and they have black patches on their eyes. They are moderately tall. They have a strong immune system compared to Balami and Uda. And the West African dwarf. This is the Kuru that we see in our neighborhood that we call Kuru. They are small in size. They are mostly found in the southwest of Nigeria. They attain market weight at a relatively slow rate. Short legs, short ears. But the beauty of them is that they have a very strong immune system. So now let me recap before I go on. Let me start from the breeds of sheep we have in Nigeria. I've told you we have Balami, we have Uda, we have Yankasa, and we have the West African dwarf. So as I've said earlier, Balami is the biggest breed of sheep in Nigeria, followed by Huda, followed by Yankasa, then followed by West African dwarf. Now, let me talk about the breeds of goats that we have in Nigeria. When we talk about the breeds of goats we have in Nigeria, we have the Sokoto Red, we have the Sahel, and we have the West African dwarf. The Sokoto Red are predominantly brown in color. These are the animals we see in our eateries and canteens that they kill in order for people to feed on. They are brown in color. This is what we call Ogunfe. I know most of us like Ogunfe very well. They are northern breeds. They are tall, considered one of the best breeds in Nigeria. Females are known for their high training rates. So that's about Sokoto Red. Then we have the Sahel goats. They are predominantly white. They are tall. Second largest breed of sheep goats in Nigeria. Then they are characterized by flappy ears. If you see Sahel goats, they are tall and they are predominantly white in color. Then we have the West African dwarf. If we look in our environment, definitely you'll have seen the West African dwarf, but you might not know they are the one. In our local environment, you will see all these goats running around and doing all these stuff. These are the West African dwarf goats. They are short. Most of them are black in color. There are other colors as well, but they are predominantly black in color. They are found in the southwest of Nigeria. They have a very strong immune system. They have the strongest immune system when we talk about the breeds of goats we have in Nigeria, and they attain market weights at a very slow rate. But the beauty of it is that even the Oyinbos, the white people, they export these West African dwarf. They import into their country, and I can see some videos where I see West African dwarf in the white people's land. That's to show you what we have. We don't know the value. You understand what I'm saying? So we just have to attach value to what we have. So let me recap. When we talk about breeds of goats, we have the Sokoto Red, we have the Sahel, and we have the West African dwarf.
Cross between Sahel and Sokoto Red. This is another cross between Sahel and Sokoto Red. This one is taller and longer. This one is shorter, not as tall as this. Then we have a pure Sahel here. So these are the three goats we have here. Then we have our sheep here, our rams here. Let me say rams. We have pure Uda. We have a cross between Uda and Yankasa. We have a cross between Balami and Huda. We have different cross breeds here, and we have some pure breeds here.
So now that I've introduced us to the breeds of sheep and goats that we have in Nigeria, I think the next thing to do is for us to talk about their housing. When we talk about, definitely these animals have life to live and life to their life, so you don't treat them anyhow. So you can't say because they are animals then you should put them in a place that is not well covered, that they are exposed to cold, sunlight, and all the rest. So when we talk about the housing of sheep and goats, they must be protected from sunlight. Definitely they also need sunlight, but it must not be too much. So we just have to protect them away from sunlight. We have to protect them from rainfall. They also need fresh air, so there should be ventilation. Feeding and watering facilities should be fine as well. The feeding and watering facilities should be in such a way that there won't be contamination of feed and water. Safety features must be accident free. When we are considering the welfare of these animals, we should be considering the welfare of the workers as well. So assuming you have a flock of sheep or a herd of goats, I think that's the right terminology to use. A herd of goats, you understand. Definitely you are rearing them together. There will be a time when some of them will be heavy. You are not expected to put heavy animals, the animals that are heavy, in the midst of other animals, maybe males. They might be headbutting the animals, and that's one of the reasons why some farmers record abortion or stillbirth. You understand what I'm saying? And when these animals give birth, during the third trimester, you just have to separate the animals, the pregnant animals from the ones that are not pregnant, so that you will give them time to rest, time to feed, time to drink water, because this time they need proper care. So that's the essence of partitioning, to separate the young animals from the from the big animals, to separate animals that are gestating from the rest. You understand what I'm saying? So now, when we talk about types of housing system of sheep and goats, we have the floor type and we have the raised pen. You understand? Floor type in the sense that all these animals, if you look, typically what we practice in Southwest or Nigeria here is the floor type. Maybe we just cement an area, we provide a shed, watering and feeding facilities, and we do this. You understand? But the raised pen is the best, but it's not, is very expensive. You understand, sir? So it's very expensive in the sense that you have to raise the pen. What's the advantages of raised pen? Reduce disease risk. Animals do not have direct contact with their feces and urine, so definitely it will reduce the rate at which the animals will be falling sick. Easy cleaning, definitely the feces will be coming down, only few will be on the floor. So easy cleaning, worker friendly, workers can go in easily, clean it, give them water, give them feed and all the rest. No soilage of feed and water. That's definitely no soilage of feed and water, since the feces won't have direct contact with their water and their feed. So now let me recap. I talked about housing. It should be protected from sunlight, rainfall, ventilation, feeding and watering services. The facility should be good, safety features, accident-free from workers and animals, and must be well partitioned. Then I talked about the advantages of partitioning our pen. I talked about type of housing system, which is the floor type and the raised type. Then I talked about the merit of raised pen over the floor pen.
The floor here is very padded. I don't know if it's wood shavings or mixture of sawdust.
Actually, it is sawdust. When you want to do ruminant, it's always advisable you use sawdust, because wood shavings is expensive and it's not economical to use for ruminants. There are some people that do use sawdust for poultry, which is not advisable, to be sincere. It's not advisable. It's always advisable to use wood shavings for poultry, then sawdust for ruminants.
But like, how long do you change this sawdust? How long does
it depends on the number of animals. You know, when we talk about stocking density, the number of animals in an area, so it depends on the number of animals. You can't expect 20 animals to be here. Definitely the time to change the sawdust will be very small, compared to if the animals are many here. The more they are, the more the feces, the more the urine.
And so after the construction of our pen, I think the next thing we need to do is to disinfect this pen. You understand? You, just like human being as well, if you build a new house, what do you do next? You wash and disinfect. You understand? Before packing in. So these animals, why workers are working on the farm and they are doing one thing or the other, definitely they are carrier of diseases as well. They are coming from outside. So after the completion of the pen, we just have to disinfect the pen. Wash the pen thoroughly, disinfect the pen using a suitable disinfectant, and it is also very important for us to allow the pen to rest for 7 to 14 days. This is very important, to be sincere. Now, after the pen is ready, what do we do? The next thing is to stock our animals. So I think we are going into the main body now, so we should be well prepared, because I'll be saying some things that are just practical and we are going to benefit a lot from this. So now let me talk about stocking of animals. Definitely when you want to stock animals, you don't just stock animals. There are features you look out for when you want to stock animals. The animal must be big for its age. They can't tell you an animal is 2 years and it is looking as 1 year old animal. It is not proper, to be sincere. That means that they didn't take care of the animal very well, or the genetic makeup of the animal is not that good. So it is very important for us to know this. The animal must be alert. If you try to run towards the animal should try to run away or try to face you if it is a male animal. You have male animals that tries to attack you, understand? The animal must not have mucus discharge from the nose, no diarrhea, no rough skin. If it is a male animal, well descended scrotal sac and scrotum. If it is a female animal, well developed udder. Udder is the mammary gland, which is the breast. You understand what I'm saying? So these are some of the things we look out for when stocking animals, and most importantly, the genetic makeup of this animal is very important, because the gene that is made up of these animals will dictate the future of the farm or the future of the herd. That's why when breeders want to stock animals, they look for this genetic makeup. They try to, as much as possible, in order to look for animals that have good genetic makeup. So when we stock these animals, we don't just move them into the main pen. If you have old stock, you don't bring new animals and put them into with the old stock. It is very wrong, and this is a mistake most farmers do, which is very, very crucial. You understand what I'm saying? That's where we have to quarantine these animals. So when we will talk about quarantine is very important. We watch these animals for at least 14 days, looking for signs of sickness. If we see sign of sickness, we try to treat this sickness for at least 14 days. And if the sickness persists, it will be beyond 14 days. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to take note of some things, separating new animals from the rest of the herd, closely monitoring them for signs of sickness, and treating animals that show signs of sickness. So I've said earlier, quarantine period should last for a minimum of 14 days to ensure any potential health issues which might be identified and should be addressed before introducing the new animals to the rest of the herd. So let me just tell us this. I do tell people what are the 3 key factors for successful sheep and goat farming. One is the health. You have to take the health of these animals very serious. You don't postpone treatment. There is something we say, early diagnosis and prompt treatment is very important in animal production, in animal husbandry. When you note an animal is having a strange symptoms, you have to treat immediately. So the health of these animals should be taken very seriously. Nutrition as well. Provide balance and nutrition feed to ensure more optimal growth and productivity. So I've been talking about breed as well. The genetic makeup of these animals is very important. Select high quality breed suitable for your climate. This thing is very important, suitable for your climate and production goals. You can't bring animals that are used to cold, maybe in far away country in the diaspora, and bring them to a temperate region whereby the sunlight is in excess. Definitely this will affect the animals. So I think we have to take these 3 key factors very serious. So let me recap 3 key factors: health, nutrition, and breed. So when we stock these animals and we've been taking care of them, definitely their management practices we carry out. You don't just stock them, giving them feed, giving them water. Their management practices, just like a small kid that is just growing up, definitely there are some things we'll be doing in order to allow the young kid to grow well and to do well. So feeding, I've talked about feeding. Feeding is not all about giving feed alone. It has to do with giving quality feed in the right quantity. You understand? An animal, small, will be fed 5 to 7% of their body weight. So if an animal is weighing 100 kg, be rest assured you are going to feed the animal like 7 kg of feed in a day. Medication, we have to take their medication very serious. One of the problem people have is that they don't take medication of these animals very serious, and this is very important. I see a lot of farms that have money to buy animals, but they don't buy drugs for them. This is very wrong. I think it's something that is not good enough. If you can have money to stock animals, I don't see a reason why you should not have money to stock drugs for them, because if their health is being taken care of, definitely we'll have a successful sheep and goat production. Hoof trimming. When we talk about hoof trimming, this is very important, because there was a time I went to a farm like a year ago or 2 years ago, and when I got there, the animals are, it is lameness, to be sincere. And what causes lameness? When the hoofs of these animals have overgrown, definitely they won't be able to walk very well, and they won't be able to access feed and water. Definitely disease will set in because they will be emaciated, and this will affect the animals in one way or the other. So ear tagging is majorly for identification. If you want to identify your animals, if you have many animals, ear tag comes in 100 per pack. It's not that expensive, so I expect farmers to get it and identify their animals. Castration. If you are doing fattening, you are producing male animals for meat production, definitely you need to castrate these males. If you don't want them to be productive, you don't want them to be fertile, so you castrate them and you give them quality feed, they will be growing at a very fast rate. Provision of clean and neat water. Not only clean and neat water. Ìmọ́tótó ni, how did they say it in Yoruba? I've forgotten this thing. So we have to clean their pen, do the right thing. If you can take all these management practices very well, I think we have a successful venture. So let me recap some management practices in sheep and goats: feeding, medication, hoof trimming, ear tagging, castration, provision of clean and neat water, and cleaning of the pen. So let's move to the next slide.
Hello. Just to call your notes here, we have a lot of questions in the comment section now. Should we be addressing it as it goes? Because the questions are piling up, and some of the questions that are being asked are related to what you are discussing right now. Would you want to attend to them at the end of the discourse, or you want to attend to them as you go on? Which one is preferable for you?
Okay, let me finish my presentation, and I will answer all the questions one by one by the grace.
Okay, I just wanted to bring that to your so you know.
Okay, so now let me go to the next topic. What is the purpose of raising sheep and goats? There are three purposes. It can be for breeding, it can be for rearing, and it can be for fattening. I think Idris Akinteye mentioned something in the comment section that he wants to know more about fattening. So I want you to listen very well now, so that you gain a lot from the fattening section. So we have breeding. Breeding has to do with multiplication, gathering female animals of good genetic makeup, and mating them with male animals, a proven male animal. What do I mean by proven male animal? That means animal that is very fertile and that is sexually active, you understand? So that's breeding. Then rearing. Definitely rearing, you don't have a target time you want to sell these animals. You are just rearing them. When the market comes, fine. When they are the time they reach the market weight doesn't concern you. You are just rearing. When the market comes, fine. If it doesn't come, when they are ready for market, you sell. Then fattening. We have to be intentional about fattening, because it takes between 90 and 120 days, and what most people do during Ileya festival is that they buy animals 5 months to Ileya or 4 months to Ileya, and they fatten up. There are a lot of technicalities in this, to be sincere. It's not just about giving feed and water. So breeding, let me go back to breeding, focuses on multiplication and genetic improvement, requires expertise and technical know-how. Male to female ratio. When we are in class, they told us one male goes for 10 to 20 females, but I can tell you practically it is 1 male to 7 females if we don't want to kill the male, you understand? But there is a way people manage 1 male for like 20 males, 20 females. There is a strategy for that. Proven males should be used for breeding. I've said that before. So Rearing involves nurturing and grow young animals from birth to maturity. Proper nutrition, health care, management practices are crucial. Young animals should be vaccinated and dewormed regularly. Monitoring and record keeping essential for optimal growth and development. So for fattening, I'll be talking about fattening because a lot of people will be interested in this. In the sense that people do ram fattening during Ileya, and we know how costly ram can be during Ileya. I know how much people sell rams in the last Ileya. So it is a very big opportunity for people during Ileya, people that take it serious, you understand. Focusing on increasing weight and quality of male animals for meat production. When we are talking about fattening, we are talking about male animals, you understand what I'm saying? Suitable for rams with an initial weight of 25 to 30 kg. You can't fatten animal that is 15 kg, that is 10 kg, you are just wasting your time, because there is a time when these animals will be adding weight, adding flesh at a very fast rate. You understand what I'm saying? So that's the time when you fatten these animals. When you see that your animal is between 25 to 35 kg, you don't have anything to do with the age of the animal. So far it is 25 to 30 kg. So what people do is that, especially our Lagosians, they restrict movements, and that's the best thing to do, to be sincere. Restrict movements, don't allow them to move about. When they eat, they drink, they convert easily when they are confined in an area. You understand what I'm saying? No copulation, you don't allow them to have sexual intercourse. It's just like human being having sexual intercourse. Definitely we need a lot of things to replenish what he has given us. Quality feed provided to satisfaction for at least 3 months. Monitoring and record keeping. What I mean by monitoring is that, record keeping is that you have to be weighing these animals to know whether you're on the right track. Then nurturing to ensure optimal growth and weight gain. So that's all about fattening. Idris, if you have your question, I'm going to take them on fattening. I know when we are taking our questions, I will have a lot to say again. So I'm ready for you guys. So let us talk about common diseases affecting sheep and goats. We have diarrhea. This is very common. Animals have diarrhea. And there are a lot of drugs to combat this. We have like oxytetracycline injection. We have sulfonol. And sulfadimidine. Sulfonol is a brand name. Sulfadimidine, don't let me advertise for anybody. So pneumonia happens especially during rainy season. That's why I keep telling farmers that it is advisable you stock your animals during dry season, especially goats. You can stock sheep and goats at any time, whether dry season or rainy season. But if you are stocking goats, you should stock them during cold dry season. Then if you are stocking goats during rainy season, it should be animals that have been acclimatized to their local environment and all the rest. Mastitis, these affect female animals, whereby there's like a growth in the mammary gland, which is very hard, and these affect milk production. Bottle jowl, I know a lot of farmers do face this problem on their farm, whereby there will be enlargements in the neck of animals, that what we will call the bottle jowl, and research shows that this bottle jowl is caused by concentration of worms in the body of the animal. So there are some drugs to do this. I think that Radixnol will do that, we cure that. We have pregnancy toxemia. When animals are carrying more than one fetus, definitely their body need, the nutrition they will need will be high. So we have to feed them very well. But what most farmers do is that they don't know they are carrying two fetus, so they still feed normally. And if these animals will not be able to have enough nutrients in order to provide for itself and the fetus, so this will allow the animal to be depleting the stored energy in the body, and this will affect the animals. So let me talk about pests, the petite ruminants. I think most of us should know this. PPR. So let me just explain in a layman language. If we notice, most of these animals, you will notice there will be diarrhea. That's the first thing. There will be mucus discharge from the nose. There will be roughened skin, and these animals will go off feed. and it won't affect just only one animal, it will affect almost all the animals because it's a viral disease. So it is very important for us to take PPR very serious, and I do tell people you should try and vaccinate your animals against PPR at least once in a year, which is the onset of rainy season. But most times I do advise farmers to vaccinate in January, which is very important. So, and one thing we need to note about PPR is that once these animals have come down with the disease, please don't vaccinate again unless you want to wipe up all your stock. You treat, then when you treat these animals, when they are okay, then you try to vaccinate. You understand? You don't vaccinate sick animals. That's the main thing. I know we have a lot of questions. Definitely, I'm going to take them one by one. So we have the exotic breeds of goats. You know, as I was saying earlier, I talked about the breeds of goats we have in Nigeria. I talked about the breeds of sheep we have in Nigeria. So now, smart farmers are doing something extraordinarily. They are importing exotic breeds of sheep into Nigeria, like Kalahari, Boer goats, Savannah goats. Kalahari and Boer are from South Africa, if I'm not mistaken. You can correct me. Savannah goats as well are from other part of the country, not Nigeria. So these breeds are very mighty and very okay. You will see the pictures in the slide. You will see all these things in the slide when it is sent to you. So what smart farmers do is that they import this Kalahari, Boer or Savannah as the case may be, but what more people do is that they import Kalahari because they acclimatize well to our environment here. So we have a lot of Kalahari than Boer and Savannah here in Nigeria. So, and it costs millions of naira to import these animals, but how many farmers have these millions of naira in order to bring these animals into the country? So it is very important for us to tap from the people that have done this thing. What they do most times is that definitely they don't have millions of naira to import many of them, so they just import 1 or 2 males. Then they cross it with our local breeds. It can be Sire, it can be Sokoto Red, it can be West African Dwarf. But what most people do is that they cross with West African Dwarf because it gives better results. You understand what I'm saying? So as a farmer that we don't have millions of naira to import these breeds, what do? We just buy the hybrid that has been produced from these farmers that has imported these animals. Then we buy them. It can be a male, it can be a Boer wad, which is a cross between Boer and West African Dwarf, or Kala Sokoto, which is a cross between Kalahari and Sokoto Red, or Kalawad, which is a cross between Kalahari and West African Dwarf. You understand what I'm saying? So this is very important. You just buy a male. A male cannot be more than 250, 300,000. Then you use it to improve your breed. This is very important to be sincere. This is very important to be sincere. So now let me talk about eSource synchronization. I think we are coming to the end of the lecture, and I think you guys are following with keen interest. Definitely, I'm going to take your questions one after the other. When we talk about eSource synchronization, this is a manipulation of eSource cycle of female animals so that they can be bred at the same time. Just like human being, from one menstruation period to another, definitely there is a time frame and there is a gap between all these things. So it is very important. If we have many animals, we can't be carrying management practices all the time. We can't be carrying it out all the time. So what most farmers do is that they manipulate this estrous cycle by injecting an hormone which will allow all the animals to come on eat at the same time. What I mean by eat is that they show eat signs at the same time, whereby they produce fertile eggs, and they show all these signs, and the male will be able to identify these signs and mount them. So all these animals shows each period at the same time, and they are mated at the same time. So you carry out all the management practices at the same time. If you want to milk, all of them will give birth at the same time. So you milk all of them at the same time, and you get enough milk. You wean all the young ones at the same time. The ones you want to use for fattening, you will know them. The one you want to use for breeding, you will know them. The one you want to use for slaughter, you will know them. You carry out all these management practices at the same time. You don't need to carry out management practices week in, week out, because the animals have different birth interval. You understand? That's the essence of resource organization. You make them at the same time, they give birth at the same time, you carry out management practices at the same time. So now, what's the essence of doing all these things? What's the essence of farming? Is for profit, and I believe marketing is very important. Marketing is very important in the sense that we just have to market our animals, and the gain we are going to have has to be worth our sacrifices and our efforts. You understand what I'm saying? So there are many ways in which we can do this. Online advertisement. I could remember I opened Abak Farm on Facebook years back while I was doing my masters, and I kept posting something related to agribusiness, and from there I had a lot of followers. Unfortunately, the account was hacked. I have to open another one, and today I still have enough followers that are following me. You understand what I'm saying? So online advertisement, utilize social media platform, online marketplace, farming website to reach wider audience. The funds we're having with us is not for fashion, is not for us to be showing off. We can do many things that will be profitable for us, that will give us a lot of money. You understand? Meat sharing, this is very common in Lagos. Gather people together, share meat among them, share meat among them. This is something that is common now. Word of mouth, leverage friends and family. I have friends and families that have referred people to me, and I can say I'm giving a testimony about the word of mouth. Local marketing, engage in local butchers, restaurants, grocery stores to explore potential sales opportunities. Farmers markets, networking, it is very important. Network with people, attend seminars, you meet a lot of people with like minds. Network with farmers, veterinary doctors, industry experts to stay informed about market trends and best practices. So the last slide, I have list of drugs a serious-minded sheep and goat farmer should have. We have oxytetracycline, oxytocin, all these in the slide, sulfonol, multivitamin, calciplus, vitamin B complex, all the rest. So before I go, let me just talk about common challenges sheep and goat farmers usually face, how to acclimatize Hausa breeds of goats, which is Sokoto Red. You don't buy them during rainy season, you bring them down during cold dry season, because they are coming from a hot environment. You don't have to bring them into a cold environment. You introduce feed gradually. The feed they've been eating over there, you allow them to eat it for a month before introducing what you'll be giving them gradually. Yeah, I think they are going to do well if you can follow this. Issue of milk let down in female animals. I know a lot of farmers who contact me and they will say my goats or sheep has given birth and the milk is not coming down. It is very common, and giving oxytocin will bring milk let down within 24 hours. Paralysis in newborn kids. This is very common for farmers who have these issues. I think it is very important to be giving calcium supplement to these animals during pregnancy, maybe once in a week or twice in a week. Time to stock sheep and goats. I've said that earlier. Stock sheep and cattle anytime, whether rainy season or dry season. Stock goats during cold dry season. If you want to stock goats, you can buy the the one that are bred locally in your area, that have been acclimatized. They will do well. Retainment of placenta in female animals. Some animals will give birth and the placenta will not come down. Oxytocin injection will allow this to come down. So before I go, I want all of us to have a mentor, follow people that have been in this business, because the problem you think you are facing that is giving you issue, they will solve it for you within a twinkling of an eye. Thank you for following with keen interest. God bless you all.
Wow, that was a robust one from you. In fact, I was thinking, how are we going to condense the slide for this event, the time allotted for this program? But you've done very good justice to that, I must say. And, you've enlightened us a lot, talking about the various breeds that we have, the indigenous and the exotic breeds, mentioning what they can be used for, how to house them, the three most important things, to a serious livestock farmer should actually focus on to get desirable results from engaging in the venture. You talk about some of the common diseases, and how to address them. I like one particular point that you made, talking about addressing, I think, is it PPR?
Yes.
You have to vaccinate the animals, but when they already have the disease already, you don't need to vaccinate, except you are going to lose all your flock. Yeah, I grabbed that as well, and I like that you ended your presentation with advice to farmers, informing them to join network. We can overemphasize the importance of network. Like you said, what you find challenging, someone has already solved it, and they can solve it for you within a twinkling of an eye. Like it's very, very important. And when you engage in this venture, you have to expand your perspective, your horizon on marketing. It doesn't have to be doing it individually or behind the scene. You have to go out there, market to people around, leverage digital media, social media and all that. In fact, when you start engaging in the venture, you're already talking about it, that once your harvest is ready, people know that you have this and they can come and take it from you. And I like that you spoke on that fattening process. Akite wanted an elaboration on that rather, and it was succinct, letting him, he said that he likes that you told him the weight, you emphasize the way that he can actually fatten ram. A lot of people just go buy ram anyhow, I want to fatten. At the end of the day, there's also waste resources and don't get the desired result. That's lost on investment here. So I will just go straight into the question of the day. I have a question regarding this. Damilola Akifenwa. So he's saying that among all the sheep breeds that you've mentioned, can all of them be reared in Ibadan? Yeah, I'm sure that you operate from Ibadan, so you must be able to answer that question appropriately. He said, because I used to hear some cannot be reared here because of climate conditions. So I'm going to add to that question as well. When you mentioned all those animals, I didn't actually capture you mentioning, animals that can be used for, especially goat and sheep that can be used for dairy purpose and also used for this thing. Like sheep now, they harvest the wool on the body. Like, is there a particular breed used for that? I would like that. Thank you.
Okay. For milking, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly, for milking. But I want you to address the question of Damilola, whether all of the sheep breeds that you mentioned can be reared in Ibadan, because he heard that it's not all of them can be reared in Ibadan.
Definitely they can be reared, to be sincere. When I talked about the breeds of sheep that we have in Nigeria, I talked about Balami, Uda, Yankasa, and West African Dwarf. Definitely, West African Dwarf is in Southwest here, so you don't have any issue with that. West African Dwarf can be reared here without any expertise, you understand? Even a layman will rear West African Dwarf to sheep or goats, you understand? But when we talk about Balami, they are coming from a different environment entirely, which is the north. They can be reared in Ibadan here, in Southwest here, generally, in any part of Nigeria, because people are doing it and they are doing it fine, you understand. But there is an expertise in which you acclimatize these animals into the environment. You can't expect animal that has been feeding on crop residue, maybe bean shafts, soya shafts, groundnut ops in the north, and you bring the animal here and you start giving cassava peel immediately. Definitely, the cassava peel will trigger something and will upset the digestive tract, which will allow the animal to be having diarrhea. So there is a way you do that. You introduce feed to them gradually. If you bring Balami, Uda, or Yankasa, Let me talk about Balami and Uda, because Yankasa is even easier to hear, you understand. You bring these two animals into Southwest or Ibadan here. What you do is that you give them the feed they've been eating where they are for like a month, so that they will be accustomed to the environment, they will be accustomed to the feed, they will be accustomed to everything. Then you start introducing the feed you want to give them here gradually. There is a step for that. Maybe for the first 1 week, you give them what they are eating. Okay, for the first 1 month, you're giving them what they are eating. Then the following week, you try to give 75% of their old feed and 25% of their new feed. You know you are introducing it gradually into their system. Then after a week, if there is no diarrhea, you change to 50-50. Then after a week again, you change 75 to 25. 75% of what you are introducing and 25% of what they've been taking over there. Then later you introduce freely. But in a situation whereby you bring these animals from another part of the country and you give them feed that they are not used to, definitely there will be a problem. So no breed of sheep or goat in Nigeria that can be reared here. It has to do with expertise. I mentioned earlier about Sokoto red goats. You don't stock them during rainy season. This is a problem most people do, and they have lost a lot of fortune, you understand. But what I realize is that people are selfish. All these people that sell animals for them, they won't tell them. They know it, but they won't tell them. But they are just after their pockets.
We are trying to acclimatize them. Okay. So you can see they are new. We are trying to acclimatize them into the new environment, trying to change feed for them. So it's not easy to change feed for animals, but it's a gradual process to be sincere. It takes about 40 days.
Okay, thank you for that. I also have experienced something similar, rather, because I did goat production on the side. You know, I noticed that my goats came down with diarrhea, you know, littering the places and wateries too. And one of the things that I saw was that I had to change the feed. The feed was too fine. No, not change the feed, rather, you know, but to make the feed a bit wet, you know, so it doesn't disturb the digestive tract. And I saw progress with that, actually. So for Damilola, I hope that you've been able to, you know, capture what he said. You know, no breed that cannot be read in Ibadan, but you just have to understand everything about the breed, you know, where the breed history, where they are coming from, as much as possible. Try to acclimatize them. You know, that's one thing to note. And he's asking a second question. I think he's very much interested in the goats and in the sheep farming, rather. Maybe we would have to link up with him later. And I tell everyone in the house that Opeyemi Abdullah is the right person to actually go to when you have issues with all this. Yeah, it's going to help you solve your problem, although at a fee. Yeah. So I'll go to the second question. He's saying that at what age can the sheep and the goat be bought, and how much will it cost to get them? I think you mentioned something similar to this, maybe at the weight that you can actually buy them or something, but you can recap on that.
Okay, can I get the question again?
So he's saying that at what age can the sheep and goat be bought? Like, he's looking forward to rearing sheep and goat now, you know, but I would imagine that it has to be for a purpose.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's saying that.
I think I get the question, because when we are talking of buying goat and sheep, if you are buying goats, I do advise people, if you are breeding, if you are going into breeding of sheep and goats, you understand, I do advise people to buy animals that has given birth at least once. When you do this, you know, there's something we call agan in Yoruba. You are sure the female animal is not agan, has given birth once, and you get turnover easily, in the sense that you don't have to wait for a long time before you start seeing profits, because these animals might have taken in where you buy it, or immediately it gets to your farm. If you have a proven male, the animal will conceive, you understand. And for male animals, I don't advise people to buy small animals because they give problems. So buy medium-sized animals. Some people even buy big animals and they fatten and they sell at a very high price. I think it all depends on your customer Some people will buy ram of 500,000, 400,000. Some people will buy 200,000, 150,000. So someone that wants to sell ram of 200,000, so you should be able to buy a ram of 60, 70,000, and you feed and you have your gain. Someone that wants to sell animal for 500,000 can buy as high as 200,000 and feed and have your gain. But if it is female animals, I advise you buy animal that has given birth at least once.
Thank you for that. So I would ask a personal question to this now before I go on to the third question of the day. Yeah, I've had this kind of advice, is that when you want to buy goats, you buy the one that is kind of sick or kind of deformed, because they are going to sell it lesser for you. Then you can take care of it, then it return back to full health, then you have all the gain. That's one. Another one now is that, you mentioned that we should buy for female animals, yeah, for you, we should buy the one that's given birth before. So some people are now saying that if you want to buy an ewe, then you should buy one that is already pregnant so that you can gain immediately when it gives birth, you understand? So it's again the baby. So what is your response to that?
Okay, I think your first question is buying animals that are sick or emaciated and maybe taking care of them. I think it is a big risk, to be sincere. When you have animals on your farm and you buy animals that are sick and you try to bring them back to normal health, it's a big risk. A transfer of diseases can occur on the farm, which is the first thing. Then another thing is that you might even lose the animal, you understand? And the time it will take you to bring these animals into shape, you would have spent a lot. So why can't you just buy a good and healthy animal and move on with your business? That's what I do advise people. I think quality should come over quantity. When you try to minimize costs, it should be reasonable as well. It's not all the things that you minimize costs. There are sometimes you don't minimize costs in order to have a very good result. You understand what I'm saying? Then to your second question about animals that have taken in, right?
Yes.
I think a good breeder will not buy an animal that has taken in. It depends. If you are buying from a farm that has a very good record, they know the male that mates these animals, they keep record. If it is a good male that mates these animals, there is nothing bad in it, you can buy it. But buying from a random person that you don't know the male that bred the female animal, you don't know whether it is a good male, because there is something we call runts in ruminant production as well, whereby a female animal will give birth to a young one that is a runt. Runt in the sense that will be very small compared to the birth weight, and it will give you a lot of problem, and you might even lose this animal. So our advice, if you are buying from a breeder that keep records, you can buy animals that are pregnant. But if you are buying from a random person that doesn't keep record, that doesn't know the male that mounts the animal, it's not advisable you buy. I think that answered the questions, right?
Yeah, it does. It's one of the reasons why we have it. We don't know. We assume that we don't know anything with livestock production. Yeah, the resource person in the house. I'm happy that you're dishing out this immense knowledge. So, like you said, for my first question, I think it's actually very important that we don't purchase sickly animal and not looking at just the profits. We should balance it with the health risks as well. We have what we call zoonosis. Yeah, transfer of animal disease to humans. One of the diseases that could actually be transferred, tuberculosis or typhoid or something, from chicken. And to your second question, I would agree with you as well that if you are actually engaging in the venture for business itself, to earn the necessary income, I think that you want to do all your due diligence. You want to get the right animals. I see no reason for you, and getting an animal that is already pregnant. You want to rear your animal for breeding, and you are getting an animal with features that you are not sure of the history. I think that's not a prudent practice. So I go to the third question here, still from Damilola Akinfewa. After this one, we take question from another person, but his question is actually insightful. It helps to bring out a lot of practices that undertaken in the venture. So he's asking that what kind of feed are we going to use to feed them? I would assume for the sheep and goat. And I want to add to this here, if when we feed the sheep and goats, maybe we just feed them along with their natural feeds, grass, herbs, legumes and all that, or we can add concentrates, pellets, and also supplements, to fortify the feeds that we give them. What do you think about this?
Yeah, some people, if they compound a new feed for an animal, the animal is not going to accept the feed immediately, you understand? But there are certain things I put into my feed that will allow the animals to take it easily, maybe by adding little quantity of soya that will be sweet in their mouth, that will be palatable in their mouth.
Palatable, that's the word I'm looking for, actually.
Okay, I think when I was talking about when you are doing this thing commercially, it is very important for us to go what our animals will feed on, which is the grasses and legumes and all the rest. So if you have, I know most farmers are backyard farmers and they don't have, definitely they do it in town and they don't have access to grasses, which is not good enough. But if you have access to grasses, it is better you feed your animals with grasses. There's something we call basal diet. That is what you are giving your animals. That will be like a base, as the word implies. Then there's something we call supplementary diet. That's what Toiba mentioned earlier about concentrate and all the rest. But it's not advisable you use corn for your concentrate because it is too expensive. There are some ingredients that are still nothing is cheap in Nigeria actually, but we still have some feed ingredients that are still economical, like wheat flour, rice bran, GNC. With the right formula, you can use it to feed your animals. Using the right formula, you understand. And cassava peel as well. But the issue with cassava peel is the concentration of isocyanate, which is an nutritional factor which affects animals. So it is very advisable you sun dry the cassava peel very well before giving your animals, you understand. I think this answers this question. Giving grasses, giving cassava peel and giving concentrate, that will be fine, but not too much of concentrate because their digestive tract is designed to ruminate and they can mostly ruminate with grasses.
That's actually important. I would add that if you are considering alternative feed for what is best for feeding your livestock, you want to consider the digestibility and how utilizable it is, for your animals to easily absorb, extract the nutrients from the feed. And another thing that I want to add in terms of the food poisoning that you mentioned is particularly common for maize and peanuts. The issue of aflatoxin. Want to be sure that if you are going for alternative is rid of aflatoxin. It causes great damage to the digestive system of the animals and it impairs their health. So I'm going to ask one more question regarding this, then I'll move on to the next question. You spoke about livestock feed. The grasses is the best for them, all right? So I want your opinion on whether wet grass or dry grass. We have people use which one is more nutritive. Some people say once it's dry, the nutrient is gone, it's not as much as the fresh grass. And the issue of feeding your animals to wet grass and bloating and the chances of worms and all that. What do you have to say to that?
Okay, I think it is very important for us to know that when we talk about silage and haylage, most times what we are trying to do is to conserve our grasses when they are in abundance. You understand what I'm saying? During rainy season, definitely everywhere will flourish, the grasses will be green, they will be nutritive, and these animals will have enough to feed on. So if you don't conserve all these grasses, definitely it will be wastage because they will dry off during the rainy season. So what people do is that the leftover they have on the farm, the animals cannot feed on, that is in excess, they make it into hay, which is the dry form of feed. They sun dry it, they remove the moisture content drastically. so they can store for many months without spoilage. Then when we talk about haylage, we remove the moisture content, but not as much as that of hay, you understand. It's a form of storage as well. You can store this one as well. Then when we talk about silage, definitely you add a lot of ingredients, maybe like molasses, like cassava peel, because during my master's program, I think I work on cabbage waste. So we use cabbage waste and cassava peel and other things in order to make a silage, and they are being fed to our animals, and we try to check the digestibility and the performance and all the rest, the carcass characteristics. You understand what I'm saying? So silage, all these are ways of preserving our grass when they are in excess. That's one. Then you talk about when grasses are wet or are dry, you understand. Definitely wet grass will be more nutritious, and it will be beneficial for them more than dry grasses, you understand what I'm saying. And it is very important as well to feed these grasses to them at tender age, because at that tender age they have a lot of nutrients compared to when they are old and the fiber content is high. Then definitely during rainy season, when these animals are feeding on these wet grasses, worms will be available. So that's why you have to have a routine medication for worms, whereby you inject them with levamisole, ivermectin, and albendazole, you understand. Albendazole will take care of some worms, levamisole will take care of some worms, and ivermectin will take care of ectoparasite as well. Because when these animals are grazing, definitely there will be some ectoparasite that will clench on their body, and they will be sucking their blood. So that's the essence of ivermectin, you understand what I'm saying. So it's very good for us to be deworming our animals periodically, so far they are not pregnant. But even if the animal is pregnant, they can still tolerate levamisole without abortion. I think I've answered that, right?
Yes, you did. So I'll just quickly add something to that. Someone told me that, it's not good for you to move your animals out in the morning for grazing, that the grass is still wet and the parasites are on the leaves. That is until the sun comes out, then the parasites, they go down to the bottom of the grasses. I don't know if that is correct, but irrespective of that, I will go to the next question. This question is by Kamoruddin Bakari. So his own question is related to practicing livestock production as an investor, not really you being directly engaging in the production, but, investing in it. So he's asking that, has there been any non-successful direct investment in sheep and goat farms without direct participation of the investor? What are the challenges and success factors?
I think there are a lot of things that has to do with this thing, in the sense that when we say people want to invest into one's business, I think one has to be very careful, in the sense that there are a lot of things we don't see. There are a lot of things going underground that we don't see as investors. Agribusiness, as good as it is a risky business as well. I can tell you, that's the fact. I'm not trying to cap or whatever. It's a very risky business, and we just have to be careful when we want to invest with people, or people want to invest with us. Because if you invest a certain amount now, definitely in Nigeria there is inflation. That will be something that you have to retouch again. You understand? When there is inflation, there are a lot of things that has to do with it. Some people are not trustworthy. When they give them money, they divert it. Some people, they overestimate what they are meant to give the investor and all the rest. So investing has been good for some people and has not been good for some people. So I think it all depends on individuals.
Yeah. Thank you. So I would add to that here that it's very important for the investor to do due diligence, and also important on the part of the person being invested on, to be truthful. Many of investment gone wrong could actually be avoided by, seeing the IRR, return on investment that it doesn't make sense. That why would someone be promising you, over 50% ROI? Then if you are a farmer, or someone that is able to work out the math, that this doesn't make sense. Looking at the risky nature of agricultural business, in fact, agricultural business is riskier than some other businesses that we have here, dealing with a weather that is unpredictable. You can have pest and disease come to, ravage your farm and all that. I think it's very important for those that want to take investment, people's funds, to be truthful with it, be very honest. And when investment goes wrong, they should inculcate the habit of, communicating with your investors to let them know what is going wrong, rather than, running a task and leaving them in the dark. That is what I would add to that. So we'll go to the next question. Kamaru Dean Bakari is still asking another question here. What measures are put in place to ensure that imported animals are disease free? I think he's talking about, quarantine and biosecurity. Yeah. Do you have anything to tell us?
No, that's why I think all these animals come from advanced countries, you understand. If you want to import animal into Nigeria, there are measures in which they take. You understand what I'm saying? They quarantine these animals, they test these animals to know whether they are having diseases before they import them into the country, you understand. That's why most of these animals are expensive, because definitely you are going to incur money in order to carry out tests on these animals, whether they are disease free, and also to quarantine them and all the rest, you understand. So before they import these animals into Nigeria, they will do proper check. They will do everything in order to make sure these animals doesn't bring a strange disease into the country.
Well, you might say that the biosecurity is done rigorously, but a lot of people do not agree with that, especially when it comes to regulating movement of, crop materials. We've been having issue of GMO, and some GMO flooding our supermarkets without even knowing that we have GMO in town. That's a very that's something to actually reason with. I think in the quarantine service and establishing biosecurity at individual level works. You can say, okay, I'm going to check this animal. It doesn't meet the requirement that I send it back, but at a national level, that I cannot guarantee. So I go to the next question by Adeniji Ayub Adeyemo Richie. So he's saying, my question is that based on the animal fattener, after giving the animals quality feed, which drugs is also good for fattening? I think this person is actually talking about maybe booster. I know for fish production, like after you feed your animals, people still request for booster, maybe to make them grow faster or eat more. Yeah. Please help address that.
Okay, I think it is very important for us to know that when we are talking about fattening of animals, you have to have animals that have good genetic makeup, that when you give quality feed, they are going to convert within a short time, you understand, and they are going to give you a very good carcass, which is the meat, you understand what I'm saying. So I don't buy the idea of giving animals maybe dexamethasone, using dexamethasone. I know that's where it's going to. Using dexamethasone as fattener is abuse of drug, to be sincere. That's what people do, is abuse of drug. What we do during fattening is that we try to get the right animal with good genetic makeup, give quality feed, allow your management practices to be top notch, deworming at the right time, giving multivitamin at the right time, cleaning the environment at the right time, giving clean and safe water to them. I think we should be fine with that. Not the use of dexamethasone, abusing the drug and all the rest.
Yeah, that's really true. I think that the best form of fattening input I can ever give your animal is the adequate nutrition, aside, procuring the desirable breed. Is similar what I've experienced in catfish. If you give them the right feed, they are going to give you good results in 3 months from a launch, and in 6 months to reach a table size. Yeah, you don't need to actually have to start supplementing. And most times the boosters are, costlier, and you are just wasting money, and maybe it brings up more fat than meat. Yeah. We have another, this one is not really a question, it's also from Damilola Akifewa. He's saying that thank you for the answer, sir. I would like you to mentor me. I don't know if you have opportunity for mentorship.
I do mentor people, but that will come at a fee, to be sincere. That's the fact. It will come at a fee.
Okay.
So that's it.
Okay, so what is going to happen is that going to connect with you, so you inform him on how it goes. Okay, Adeniji Ayub Adeyemo Richie is raising his hands, directing to the question. I think we've answered this question. My question is about fattening. No, we've answered this one. Yep. So anyone see having any question can send the question in now, as we are addressing questions. But over time, it's been an interesting conversation and presentation so far. For those that are just joining us, we've discussed quite a lot. I'm going to do a brief recap, but pending that, I want you to be rest assured that this discussion that we are having is being recorded, and you are going to have access to the recorded version on the Lasgidi Farmer podcast. We have a lot of interesting events that we've actually done in recent time, from discussing about agri-tech, agricultural extension, discussing about catfish, and next week we'll be discussing about cucumber farming. It's going to be very interesting. We'll bring nothing but people that are very knowledgeable and have in-depth understanding of whatever they will be discussing. So I'll just give a quick recap here. He has discussed a lot about the goat and sheep production, highlighting the breeds, and their respective purposes that can be used for, dairy production, meat production, breeding, for cutting purpose. He also mentioned some exotic breeds as well. He mentioned the importance of, when you procure breeds from outside, you need to acclimatize them. He mentioned the importance of giving your animals the required feed to able to bring out the genetic component of your animals. Yeah. And, he mentioned, being proactive in treating your animals. Yeah. When you are proactive, what would, cause a serious situation can be prevented. And he mentioned, providing the proper housing that protects your animals from environmental hazard, from vagaries of the weather, and separates them from their litter that doesn't build up pests and diseases. Yeah, he mentioned that also, and he mentioned some diseases of goat and sheep, the PPL, pneumonia, diarrhea, how we can control them and some of the drugs that we can actually use. And he mentioned the aspect of marketing as well. He shared meaningful insight on that. So I'll just go straight to the remaining question that we have. Then we are going to do a brief recap, share the vote of thanks, and whatever we have, again, we discuss shortly. Then we call it a day, because we are already far gone. It started the event at 8 on the dot here. Let's go. But before I go on, Damilola Akinfenwa is passing a remark. He's saying, thank you so much, and an interesting conversation. He's commending us on the conversation. And we also want to say that without you, the audience, and your brilliant questions, we wouldn't be having an interesting dialogue today. Yeah, so I'll go to the next question. Yeah, Mr. Abdullah. So regarding the productivity that we've discussed from the last question that I asked you, I told you that despite we have a huge supply gap to meet our demand for eggs, for poultry meat, and for milk here. Yeah. It's not that we are not producing enough. Actually, for poultry production, we produce the largest in Africa. Yeah, and for cattle production, talking about beef that we produce, the tons of beef in a year, we are the 6th largest in Africa. And so many other areas, having huge herds of goats, of other equines. Yeah, so but the problem is productivity, like I've mentioned, where we have vast majority of those that produce livestock. They use the extensive system, free range of animals to take advantage of the environment. And and we have about just 17,000 farms producing 45 million livestock, when 6.6 million households on extensive system produce about 80 million birds. I want to hear your thoughts on this, like ranching versus rearing of our livestock by movements of the herds around to take advantage of the natural environment. Like, do you think the modern livestock method has more benefit to bringing out livestock productivity than the extensive production system? What do you think? Is there a middle ground, or one is above the other?
I think it has a lot of merits and demerit as well. When we talk about ranching, that means we want to confine our animals into an area, you understand what I'm saying, and we want to provide whatever they need for them. I think this will be very difficult for our nomadic farmers, our northern farmers, in the sense that what they are used to is to taking their animals from one place to another, you understand what I'm saying. And even the way God has created these animals, we can't put them in an area and put them in captivity, you understand what I'm saying. They need to exercise themselves, they need to move around, you understand what I'm saying. But the issue we are having is the problem of herdsmen, whereby they just bring their animals and they go into people's farm, plant farmers, and they destroy what they have labored for months, which is one of the demerits, you understand what I'm saying. But I can categorically say semi-intensive system would have been the best option if the issue of herdsmen is not there. You understand what I'm saying? A situation whereby these animals can be in the ranch maybe for particular hours, and they can move out maybe later in the evening in order to feed on the natural grasses without encroaching into other people's farm.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I would also, agree with you, combining the extensive and the intensive system. Yeah, it's quite important. You tend to leverage the provisions from the earth and from the environment, and also leverage the effective management and productive practices of the intensive system. I think what actually works in other climes is that, they procure large expanse of land, whereby they can move the animals around, they can practice rotational grazing, still afford the animal to exercise and all that, and it's form of extensive plus intensive. And when we even look at the case application in Nigeria, actually looking at semi-intensive, we see that 1.3 million households practice semi-intensive, and they produce about 60 million birds. So we see the impact of combining both and the impact of actually adopting a bit of intensive system. So that's great. I'll move on to the next question. And this question is actually having to do with, some of the challenges that we still face with livestock production. Despite that, we improve the productivity of farmers, to be able to produce more, have more yield per input. We still have some other challenges like inflation with, price of input, especially for feed, when we have it constituting a large proportion of livestock production. So this is going to significantly affect farmers' ability to meet domestic demand, right? And also for them to run a sustainable venture and, earn meaningful income to their effort. Idea some alternatives that we can actually, incorporate in our livestock feeding, that can help us reduce the cost of feeding. And also, like we have in the poultry sector. The feed input is causing a lot of problems, especially maize and soybean. I was asking if the situation in that sector is the same as we have in ruminant production.
Okay. I think when we talk about poultry production, these are birds. They feed on concentrates. You understand what I'm saying? They feed on formulated feed. They can't feed on grasses. So that's a major disadvantage, to be sincere. But whatever you give them, they convert it faster, you understand. But when we talk about ruminant production, there are a lot of ways in which we can manipulate this and have a very good result at a very low cost. Low cost in the sense that that's the reason why we keep advocating that people should be planting grasses, legumes, and what their animals will be feeding on. If you have a pasture for your animals, definitely you solve the problem of feeding. What you will just be looking out for is for money to supplement the grasses, which is concentrate, which will not take a lot of money from you, and their health, which is the drugs and all the rest. You understand what I'm saying? So when we talk about livestock sector, when we talk about ruminant production, we say have a way in manipulating all these things if we can actually establish a pasture for them.
That's good, thank you. But I'll just see that a bit of challenge is with those rearing animals in urban region like Lagos, where I am, where they don't have adequate access to land to cultivate, pastures for animals. Yeah, I think that can be a bit challenging. So irrespective of that, I will go on to the next question. And after this next question, I ask the last question, and we can end the live event properly. So should anyone be having any question, it might not be a question, it might be contribution, addition that I feel that is necessary to make, or some of the things that we've not addressed that I feel that we should quickly address, you can always put it in the comment section, then we'll quickly address it. So I'll just go to the penultimate question. Now, we are talk about the livestock industry here. The livestock sector has so many value chains. Reason for the sector's industry, 30 billion naira worth. So we know that the leather production unit is one of such. There is a saying that we heat our leather away. Hides and skin are used in making leather actually. Our hide is one of the most sought in the world, made from Sokoto red breed. Kano is a hub of leather. It supplies the Aba shoe market. Is actually one of the most important shoe markets in the world. Is what is about $300 million here. But what we have is that, we hit a lot of pomo in Nigeria. Yeah, so the hides and skin that should go to leather production is going to human consumption. So people are saying that why do people have to eat pomo? That pomo is not nutritious. I want you to clarify that myth and is pomo nutritious or not? And another aspect is that should we stop eating pomo, or can pomo and leather production exist side by side?
Okay. I would like to contribute to this because it is a very good question, and the fact is that the level of poverty in Nigeria is very high, and people are not finding it easy in the country. And even before the country gets to this stage, people have been consuming pomo, and not talk of now when the situation is worse. You understand? People cannot steal. They will go for whatever they can afford. You understand what I'm saying? If someone cannot afford meat, cannot afford fish, definitely they will go for pomo. I run a farm around Badeku, and I know the majority of people around there, they do patronize people that sell pomo. You understand? I think the level of poverty in Nigeria will not allow us to convert our hide and skin into something tangible. Definitely people will be feeding on pomo. There's nothing we can do about that. The issue of whether pomo is nutritious or whatever, I don't think there is anything nutritious on pomo. It's just the back of what is it called? The animals. You understand what I'm saying? So I think if the government can do the needful and raise the standard of living of people, there is money in circulation, people can still work and do well, I think they will go for for better options like meat, like fish, and all the rest. Even soya, people even eat soya, you understand, when it is being processed, maybe being divine, maybe being fried or whatever, you understand what I'm saying. But the level of poverty in Nigeria will not allow us to desist from eating kwama. That's the fact.
Okay, thank you so much. So poverty is what is hindering our leather industry from what it could be. So when you talk about pomo, I don't know, I just quickly googled pomo on my system to see the nutritive value. So yeah, I'm reading directly from my system now. It's saying that 100 gram of boiled thick cow skin contains about 224.65 kilocalorie of energy, 6.80 gram of carbohydrates, about 43.9 gram of water, 46.9 gram of protein, 1.09 gram of fat. It has fiber, and for micronutrients, it has calcium, 61 mg, iron, 4.3 mg, magnesium, phosphorus, zinc. I think pomo is actually nutritive, but what we must agree.
Okay, let me call Toib.
Okay.
So you are saying pomo is nutritive, right?
I'm not saying
What about the process?
I'm not saying it's nutritive. It's based on what I'm reading on the system.
Okay. What about the processes in which this pomo go to before it comes on our table? You understand? Like, definitely we are going to burn. Do you know the way they burn all this
Yeah.
back of animals?
Yeah, I'm
Do
familiar.
you know
with that.
the level of heat in which they will use in order to get this thing done? Definitely they've lost all the nutritive value through burning, through boiling, and all the rest. You
Okay.
understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
So look at it from this point of view.
Okay, I agree with that, but I don't know. I'm inclined to maybe because I eat pomo as well. I don't want to agree that it doesn't have any nutritive value. So I will just assume that it has little nutritive value. Whether
Okay,
it has
okay.
nutritive value,
I
but
agree with you on that. I agree with you
but
on
it's not as much as meat itself.
meat,
Yeah. So
fish.
So
All right.
I'll be asking the last question of the day, so we can end the event. We are at 9:55, and it will be good if we end it by 10 o'clock. That means we spent 2 hours exactly, and that is actually a well timed event. So the last one I'm going to ask you now, is two questions. Yeah, so I want you to address it properly. You can take your time, feel relaxed. Yeah, you've been talking. Get a glass of water and enjoy yourself if you like. So the first question is that, however we improve productivity in the livestock sector, yeah, when we produce a lot, we might not still be able to, address the total demand for protein, meat, in the nation, simply because it's not just about availability, it's about access. So what we are having here is that purchasing power of people has dropped significantly. So you might have egg around your area and you're not able to access egg. You were talking about people going for pomo, and that's true, because when you look at the protein sources that we have, virtually all protein sources are now costly. Egg is 200 naira. Look at the kilo of chicken, look at a ton of beef as well. It's only pomo that is 100 naira, so it makes sense that people go for pomo. So on that one part is that, what do you think that generally, I'm just asking about, based on that you're in this nation, you're experiencing what is going on, how do we go about making people able to afford food? That's number one on the side here. So the other question that I'll be asking is, based on the current event that is happening now, the issue of protests. The protest is not really as hot as is it here in the south as we have it in the north. A lot of people are saying, okay, why did they allow protests to go on there? And it should keep going on since they don't want to listen. But what I'm seeing now is that, bulk of our foods, livestock supply comes from the north. If you keep having this kind of protest and disruption in supply chain, is it not going to affect, the supply of food to the west and the price of food in the west and generally in the country? What do you think about this?
The issue of common man being able to afford food items, that's the first one.
Exactly.
I think there is a way we can do this, and the government has a major role to play in this. In advanced country, I think you did your masters in abroad, right? If I'm
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, correct.
In advanced country, they give priority to farmers. Priority to farmers in the sense that you can be an IT guy. Will you eat a computer? It's not possible. Definitely, you are going to eat food. You understand? So they give priority to their farmers. You understand what I'm saying? Through government intervention, by reimbursing all these farmers with money, with equipment that will make all these food items to be cheap, that will be fine. Because when all these things are subsidized, definitely a common man will be able to buy all these things. The food items we are saying in abroad, that's not the actual price. Government used to subsidize it for them. So that's the reason why they will always buy food. They will always have money to buy food and clothes. You understand what I'm saying? So the government has a major role to play in this by subsidizing food items and major household needs. That's the first thing. Then if I can get your second question very well about the protest, definitely is going to affect the supply of foods to the south here. So the southwest here. Igbos are known for business. We Yorubas, we are known to be ethicals. We read a lot. But the Hausas, they plant a lot. They involve in animal production a lot. So if we are protesting and there is no business, there is no movement, definitely is going to affect food supply to this place. But the fact is that we need to protest because the rate at which things are going is getting out of hand. And the major reason why we are having all these high costs of commodities is because of the high cost of PMS, which is the major thing in use in transporting our goods and services, you understand. Let me give you an example. I wanted to get a chopper for a client from the north, and I will need to pay like 20,000 naira as logistic. Imagine, due to the high cost of PMS. You understand what I'm saying? So in the situation, we need to fight, we need to protest so that we should have one voice, so that we can fight once and for all and get a better result. But the fact is that the protest is still going to affect the supply of food to the southwest here.
Thank you very much for that. So I'm just going to share my own thoughts on what you said, but my thought is not what should be held as the truth. So personally, I think we've had a lot of happenings in the past, that has accumulated debt, and we just have to get rid of them, and to put our economic situation right, especially with the issue of subsidy, each mountain, and we are not paying the right amount for PMS. And, eventually, when they remove the subsidy and we are paying original amount for PMS, it's going to spread across the food supply chain, the impact actually, because when you look at it, our energy, power, security is still a problem. We don't have full electricity supply, and most of our production, our farm production, is still run on fuel, on diesel. I think they did the right thing, but they didn't actually, help the citizen to, adapt to the immediate and the long-term consequences. Because when you are doing a reform as this, there's no way that it won't have impact on the lives of the people. So the palliative that they shared, they didn't get across to a number of people. And I think how we went about, the boosting domestic food supply in the nation, closing the border while we still have other factors impacting, having a flood in the north, wiping away the produce of farmers, and they are not being compensated or assisted. And the farmers, they lose interest in production. That way you have a supply gap. So I'm just trying to, mention the problem. And there's no way that we won't have to protest. You understand? Yeah. Because if someone cannot hit, it results to violence. You understand? But the problem now is that the violence is going to create more problem. That's the thing. It reminds me of when they were pressing the minister boss, it was based on this tech in agriculture and all that. And people are saying that, is it tech that we want to eat? If a common man doesn't have access to food, is he going to even be able to access tech? And so what we are seeing in the north is that, they built a large auditorium for a tech event that they want to have, you understand? And at the end of the day, the protesters, they went to destroy it. So we are seeing in real time the effect of, not investing properly in agriculture, but investing in tech. So I'm not condoning such acts, but the reality is it. Yeah. So we hope that these protests subsides and the government, they learn from what is happening and they do the right things, set the economy right, to boost investment, boost business. People can earn the right income, their purchasing power increases, and they also see to factors impacting food inflation, like the issue of PMS, working on our local refineries, helping with alternative energy sources, solar power, renewable energy that will complement everything, and see to a power sector that ensures that, businesses go well. In fact, in other clients, the government, they know the importance of business. Actually, they understand that businesses, they provide a lot of jobs, and it's from businesses, when they run very well, the government can get taxes from them to be able to run, public projects, programs. So what the government abroad do is that they create a massive enabling environment for businesses to function properly. So I would implore that the government also provide this for farmers as well. The financial instruments, seeds, supporting all ramification, and see to end of the insecurity that ensures that, farmers' life and investment are protected and are safe, and they can be able to engage in production without risks of fear or anything, such that, when the output of their effort comes out, the food is subsidized for the populace, and also the farmers, the income they earn is commensurate to the effort they put in. So that's my own opinion and my own advice on that. Have you got any other thing, to share, to advise people at home? Then, we can talk about how people can reach us, so that they get to engage further beyond this event.
Okay. As I've said earlier, when we want to venture into any business, we have a lot of people that have been in this business for a long time, and they have the experience, they have the expertise. So definitely we have to have a mentor, have someone to guide us, ask someone to pull our hands through the journey. A lot of problems people are facing in agribusiness is something, as I said earlier, people can solve within a twinkling of an eye. So I wish everybody well, and let's do agric its pace.
Okay, so now, in case people want to reach you, could you, tell them your handles, your mail, and some other format in which they can reach you?
Okay, we are on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and other social media platforms as Abac Farm. I will share the link after the program. There's no issue about that. So you can reach us there. We have a lot of educative and interesting topics. We do treat almost every 2 days, and definitely people are joining, and they are gaining a lot from it.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, I remain Taib Aziz. I'm the convener of the Lasgidi Farmer podcast, the podcast that promises to enlighten people about different aspects of agriculture, to help them gain better insights on how they can meaningfully and profitably participate in the sector rather, and they can understand issues going on, and make informed decision as well. So I'm available on Facebook as well as Taib Aziz in bracket the Lasgidi Farmer, also on Instagram the Lasgidi Farmer, on Twitter the Lasgidi Farmer, also on LinkedIn I have a dedicated website, the lasgidifarmer.ng, where the events are posted, and also you get insightful article personally from me and from external contributors. So I'm using this opportunity to also, inform that we'll be welcoming contributors, and one of the knowledgeable contributors that we'll be having is La Akonde is already discussing with us, and also we run weekly podcasts on agriculture where we leverage social media platform to hold the discourses. So event as this is always recorded, as available as audio, on Spotify for podcasters. You can also listen to it on Spotify as well. Just type the Lasgidi Farmer podcast and you'll find it there. It's also on Amazon as well. So thank you so much. It's been quite interesting, discussing with you. We hope that you join us next time. The next event is going to be on X, discussing doing cucumber the right way. As people are looking forward to producing their own foods, fast-growing crops that have short life cycle are actually the crops to go for. You can plant them anywhere. You can improvise to plant them in sacks and all that. And, you harvest food to meet your personal security, your household security, and when this is much and everybody produces food in their homes, they can contribute to community and national security. We say thank you so much again from I and Abdullah Akonde of Abak Farms. We see you next time. I say bye bye.
God bless.
All right.